Hello again, this is Victor James, author of The Megacosm, and I always thought there was something wrong with me because even when I watched Day of the Dead as a teen, I always thought that Captain Henry Rhodes was right. I thought maybe I was too young or I was missing some context to his argument that maybe as an adult I would get why he was wrong. Well, I'm an adult now and I still think Rhodes is right, but for the wrong reasons. In the Day of the Dead, Rhodes was the captain of a group of military men who were tasked with protecting a group of scientists in an underground bunker who were looking for a cure for the zombie plague that had ravaged the world. Rhodes was the latest to be put in charge when the military group lost their commander, Major Cooper, and instantly there was tension between him and the civilians when much of the situation was revealed during the latest briefing. Rhodes appears to be far more strict than Major Cooper and starts to demand results from the scientists, who had just returned from a mission topside to re-establish communication with the outside world, but came back with nothing. One of the lead scientists, Sarah Bowman, pleads with Rhodes for more time and with more specimens to study. We see from here that gathering the zombies for the scientists is a harrowing adventure. Private Salazar, who Sarah is dating at the time, he's cracking at the edges from the constant stress and puts the lives of several people in danger during that mission. In fact, all of these missions that come in contact with the zombies are extremely dangerous, and we learn that while the scientists have lost 2 people, the military has sacrificed 5 lives in support, and Rhodes wants to see results from these missions. During their debriefing, Rhodes comes off as cold, spiteful, and malicious as he begins to apply military protocol to what was supposed to be a civilian-led mission. When Sarah tries to defy his orders to sit down, Rhodes makes a power play by nearly forcing one of his soldiers named Steele to shoot her on the spot.
Sit down or so help me God, I'll have you shot.
When cooler heads finally prevail, Rhodes demands to know what they're wasting their time and lives for. He demands to know what progress the scientists have made and gives any reason why he and his men should continue putting their lives on the line for the scientists who have yet to show any results. Dr. Logan, who the soldiers and fellow scientists begin to call Frankenstein because of his research on the zombies, is able to talk Rhodes into giving more time by explaining that, science actually takes time, and without contact with the outside world, soldiers really have no other place to go. This argument wins out, and Rhodes reluctantly agrees to give them more time, but wants to start seeing fruits for their labor.
You got a little more time. A little more, I ain't saying how much. But you better start showing me some results and you better not piss me off.
You see, it's all about results. Rhodes uses this word time and time again, but he simply wants to see the results, and I always thought that was a fair thing to ask. I mean, it's unclear how long the group were even down in that bunker at the time of the film, but the events take place 7 years after the end of the Dawn of the Dead, which is the second movie. So it's fair to assume that they were sent down in that bunker not far after that film, so we're talking maybe months and even years. After that much time, you want to see more than charts and formulas after the loss of 5 men. Plus, the scientists complained that they do not have the adequate equipment to complete their tests, but that only strengthened Rhodes' argument. Why are they still on the same mission when the scientists themselves say they can't complete it? Plus, their communications officer, McDermott, admits that he's unable to regain contact with the outside world due to the old equipment and the loss of power to the mainland.
Equipment is hopelessly inadequate.
McDermott doesn't have decent radio gear. Now you're telling me that you don't have the shit you need? We're running low on ammunition. We're running low on men, for Christ's sake.
It was very rushed.
The situation for the group is growing dire. The men are frazzled and at each other's throats, they have lost communication with high command, and their numbers are being depleted by a horde of undead enemies that surround their facility. There is nothing wrong to question and change the mission when the situation on the ground changes. And we learn as the film goes along that Rhodes has every right to be suspicious of the scientists. The scientists had a mission to find a way to end the zombie plague, yet instead of coming up with maybe a weapon, or maybe even a virus that only infects the dead and kills them, Frankenstein goes rogue and comes up with the absolute brain-dead idea to domesticate the zombies. Out of all the specimens that he used up, Frankenstein was able to find one zombie he named Bub, who reacted to his measure to force him to relearn his past. Bub is attentive with a low level of intelligence Frankenstein is able to exploit, and most important, he doesn't see Frankenstein as food when they interact. While this is an interesting discovery, the idea of domesticating billions of these monsters is asinine. It had taken Frankenstein weeks, maybe even months, just to get Bub to that level of domestication that we see in the film. To perform mass re-education of billions of zombies with just a handful of surviving humans is an exercise of futility. It's easy to say that Rhodes is really not impressed with the results. When he finds out that Frankenstein has researched, he realizes that he and his men have been wasting their time and lives on a fool's errand.
What the fuck is wrong with you people? They're dead! They're fucking dead, and you want to teach him tricks? Is this the shit that's supposed to knock our socks off?
And to add insult to injury, he later discovers that Major Cooper, his commanding officer, was part of Frankenstein's experiments, and that he was feeding Bub from the bodies of other dead soldiers. Bub wasn't really trying to kill Frankenstein because he was being fed human meat by the man. Needless to say, Rhodes' reaction to this information is justifiable.
Listen to me, Captain. You must listen!
Listen to this.
But as I said, Rhodes was right for the wrong reasons. Whether it was the stress of constantly facing death, not having enough women around, trust me, I've been overseas, I know how bad that gets, or actual disdain, but Rhodes was needlessly antagonistic to the scientists. Just playing armchair general, Rhodes could have easily cooperated with the civilians to try and reestablish communication with Washington. What Frankenstein had done was unforgivable, but Sarah and the other scientists were actually working on other solutions that could be explored. I mean, the world was a lawless zombie apocalypse, so they could have easily run raids to gather the equipment the scientists needed to find, if not a cure, maybe something to immunize them against the bites. The men were well armed and they had a helicopter with fuel, but these options were never explored as Rhodes seemed to be on his own agenda that meant punishing the scientists and forcing them under his command. Plus, like Mr. Cooper in The Night of the Living Dead, Rhodes was a bit racist and ultimately a coward.
Kick him around a little bit. Might knock some sense into that jungle bunny head.
These traits most likely colored the way he led, as he had unneeded animosity towards the black pilot John, and he honestly did not care about his men as much as he pretended. When the underground compound was later overrun by a broken Salazar, who let the zombie horde in, Rhodes quickly left his men to die along with the scientists. Instead of coordinating a measured response, Rhodes fled and used his men as bait to allow himself to escape, which didn't really work out well in the end. Yet, cowardice aside, Rhodes was right to ask questions and request results when it came to the mission. Sarah basically tried to hide the fact that they weren't making any headway, but Rhodes could have gone about it a different way. Look, I've had some really good commanders in the military, and I've had a few bad ones. And the bad ones always seem to play favorites and try to make this us versus them mentality. The good ones always try to integrate the military and civilian workers because in the end, we were all on the same team and working for the same goal. Rhodes should have chosen the latter way to lead. But on a side note, doesn't it always seem that writers, especially writers in Hollywood, seem to give their antagonists the racist label when they have a point? It's like they go, oh crap, people might actually identify with the arguments, let's make them racist. But that's my subject for my next video. But anyway, what do you think? I know most people have seen Day of the Dead already, so what do you think, that Rhodes has a point, or is just being overly antagonistic, making a bad situation worse? Should the group have worked together, or submitted to his rule and changed the mission? Let me know in the comments below. I also want to remind you about my first book, In the Megacosm, Fiasco Adventures, that's available on Amazon. This is the first book in the Megacosm that kind of gives you the groundwork of what the Megacosm is all about. It's not a must-read before my second book, The Reekerman, comes out in a few months, but there are some characters that cross over. And I also want to remind you about my novelette, The Mark, which is available on Amazon for 99 cents. This book is actually selling very well these days. People are really enjoying it, so I'd go ahead and give this a pickup too. I mean, it's only 99 cents. And just one last reminder that my website, themegacosm.com, is available for you to read short stories for free, and you can actually go and read my Megacosm thoughts, and actually have a gallery for my characters, and I have linked to my videos and some other articles that you probably haven't read that you don't know that since I write for bleedingfool.com. But that's all I want to say about this. God bless you and keep you. That's it, I'm done.